You are lying on a stretcher in the Red Cross Hospital in Mexico City. The date is September 17, 1925. You are 18 years old. 20 minutes ago, you were on a bus. The bus was wooden, a cheap model, recently introduced to the Coyoacán to downtown route, not built for the volume of passengers it was carrying. You were sitting in the back, next to your boyfriend Alejandro Gomez Arias, a law student with good cheekbones and a copy of a book you'd lent him in his bag. You were going home. The fare was 20 centavos. The streetcar hit the bus broadside at the intersection of Cuauhtémoc and Cinco de Mayo. The impact was lateral. The bus folded. A bystander sees you on the ground. Your clothes have been torn off by the impact. Somebody on the bus was carrying packets of powdered gold, a painter or a craftsman, nobody ever identifies him, and the packets burst on impact. The bystander later says you looked like a broken saint in a church painting, which is a beautiful sentence and an obscene thing to say about a teenager with a metal bar through her pelvis. The inventory of damage. Your spinal column is fractured in 3 places. The lumbar region, permanently. Your collarbone snaps. 2 ribs crack. Your right leg breaks in 11 separate locations. Your right foot is crushed, dislocated, shattered, the bones rearranged like tiles in an earthquake. Your left shoulder dislocates. Your pelvis fractures in 3 sections. The steel bar perforates the uterine wall. The doctors who open you up aren't sure you'll survive the night. You survive the night. You survive the week. You survive the year. You will spend the next 29 years wishing the survival had come with better terms. Your name is Magdalena Carmen Frida Kahlo Calderón. You are the daughter of Guillermo Kahlo, a German-Hungarian photographer with epilepsy and a devotion to precision, and Matilde Calderón, an indigenous mestiza Catholic with a temperament like a cast-iron skillet, useful, unyielding, hot enough to scar. You grew up in La Casa Azul, the Blue House, in Coyoacán, a quiet neighborhood on the southern edge of Mexico City, where the cobblestones are uneven, and the bougainvillea climbs the walls like it's trying to escape. You were going to be a doctor. One of 35 women admitted to the National Preparatory School out of 2,000 students. You were going to study medicine. You were going to diagnose other people's bodies. Instead, your body became the diagnosis. And for the rest of your life, every doctor, every surgeon, every man who opened you up and rearranged your bones and closed you back together, 35 of them, 35 surgeries in 29 years, will treat you as a project, an ongoing renovation, a building that's perpetually under construction and never passes inspection. The accident doesn't end on September 17, 1925. The accident is a permanent condition. It's not something that happened to you. It's something that moved into your body and never left. Let's talk about the engineering. Your spinal column, fractured in 3 lumbar vertebrae, will never fully heal. The vertebrae fuse incorrectly, the nerves compress, the pain is constant, localized in the lower back, radiating down the right leg, intensifying when you stand, when you sit, when you lie down, when you breathe deeply. There is no position that is not pain. There are only positions that are less pain. Your right leg, broken in 11 places, heals shorter than the left, by almost 3 centimeters. You'll wear built-up shoes for the rest of your life. The long Tehuana skirts you become famous for aren't just cultural pride, they're camouflage. They hide the leg, they hide the built-up shoe, they hide the limp. Fashion as engineering, style as structural compensation. Your pelvis, shattered in 3 sections, heals, but the uterine damage is permanent. You will become pregnant at least 3 times. You will never carry to term. Each miscarriage is a structural failure. Your pelvis cannot support the weight. Your uterus cannot maintain the pregnancy. Your body rejects the one thing you want, because the handrail rearranged the architecture 29 years ago and the renovation never addressed that floor. The first corset arrives in 1925. Plaster. It encases your torso from ribs to hips. You wear it for months. When they remove it, you need another one, then another. Over the course of your life, you'll wear approximately 28 different corsets. Plaster, leather, steel. Each one is a cage designed to hold your spine together from the outside because the inside won't cooperate. You paint on some of them. Hammer and sickle. Flowers. A cracked column. You decorate your cages because you can't escape them. And if you're going to be imprisoned, you'll at least control the wallpaper. And the bed. The 4-poster bed in La Casa Azul, with the mirror your mother mounted on the canopy. Matilde Calderón's one stroke of genius, or cruelty, depending on the day. You're bedridden for months after the accident. You stare at the ceiling. Your mother hangs a mirror so you can see yourself. Then she gives you your father's oil paints, an especially made easel that attaches to the bed frame. You can paint lying down. You can paint yourself lying down. The first self-portrait is from 1926, self-portrait in a velvet dress. You're 19. You paint yourself with an elongated neck, Modigliani influence, romantic, elegant. The face is beautiful. The eyes are large and dark and slightly sad, but not broken. This is the last time you will paint yourself as something other than exactly what you are. From now on, the mirror gets the truth, all of it. Every corset, every tear, every nail driven into painted skin, every artery leaking onto a canvas that can't bleed back. You will paint 143 works in your lifetime. 55 of them are self-portraits, 38%. That's not narcissism. That's a patient who became her own radiologist because the hospital kept sending her home with the wrong films. You meet Diego Rivera in 1928. He's painting a mural at the Ministry of Public Education, a commission from the government, because Diego paints walls for governments the way advertising agencies paint billboards for corporations. His murals are propaganda, beautiful propaganda, historically significant propaganda. But propaganda. The revolution was good, the workers are noble, the land is sacred, and capitalism is a skeleton in a top hat. He paints this on public buildings, 30 meters high, in a country where 65% of the population can't read. The murals are the message. Diego is the medium. He is 42 years old. He weighs 136 kilograms. He stands 6 feet 1, in a country where the average man is 5'5". He has a face like a frog that read too much philosophy, bulging eyes, wide mouth, permanent expression of amused superiority. He has been married twice already. He has at least 4 children by at least 3 women. He is by every account irresistible, not because he's handsome, but because he occupies every room he enters the way a flood occupies a valley. There is no space left for anyone else. You show him your paintings, not as a fan, as a professional requesting a professional assessment. You climb the scaffold where he's working, with your damaged leg, your built-up shoe, your spine that has been broken and fused and is never not hurting. And you say, I have not come to flirt, I have come to show you my work. He looks at the paintings, he looks at you, he sees what the paintings see, a woman who does not flinch. You marry on August 21st, 1929. The civil ceremony in Coyoacán, the mayor presides. Diego is in a borrowed suit too small for his body. You wear a Tehuana outfit borrowed from a maid. Your father Guillermo attends. Your mother doesn't. When asked about the wedding later, your father says, it is the marriage between an elephant and a dove. He's not wrong about the scale. He's wrong about the power dynamics. The merger terms are as follows. Diego is the public-facing brand. His murals are the company's revenue. His fame is the company's market cap. You are the internal operation. You manage the house, the finances, the political relationships. You host Trotsky when he arrives in Mexico in 1937. You literally shelter a man Stalin wants dead, in your house, in your guest room, and then you sleep with him because your operating principle regarding men is, if they're interesting and available and the world is burning, why not? Diego knows. Diego doesn't care. Diego is sleeping with his model, his assistant, and at least 2 of his patrons' wives. Diego's infidelity is industrial scale. He cheats the way other men breathe, constantly, reflexively, without apparent effort or remorse. You absorb this, you metabolize it, you convert it into paint. The painting memory, the heart, 1937. Your torso with no hands. You literally paint yourself without the ability to hold anything. A giant bleeding heart lying on the ground at your feet, and 2 outfits hanging beside you, the European dress and the Tehuana costume. 2 identities. Neither one has arms, neither one can stop the bleeding. Then, in 1934, you discover that Diego is sleeping with your sister Cristina. Not a model, not a stranger, not a political ally's wife. Your sister. The one who visited you in the hospital. The one who sat by your bed during the months of plaster corsets. The one whose children, your nieces and nephews, you treat as the children your body will never produce. The paintings after this discovery change frequency. The colors darken. The blood increases. A few small nips, 1935. A woman lies murdered on a bed, stabbed 20 times, bleeding onto the floor, while the man who killed her stands beside her holding a knife and a banner that reads, a few small nips. The painting is based on a newspaper story about a man who stabbed his girlfriend to death and told the judge he only gave her a few small nips. You paint it as a domestic scene, casual violence. A Tuesday. The frame, the physical, wooden frame of the canvas, has paint splattered on it. The blood escaped the painting. It couldn't be contained by the border. Neither could yours. You divorce Diego in 1939. You remarry him in 1940, not because you forgive him, because the alternative, existing without the only person who treats your talent as equal to his own, is worse than the infidelity. That calculus is brutal and honest, and you make it with the same precision you apply to your self-portraits. Look in the mirror, see exactly what's there, paint it without flinching. The terms of the second marriage, separate bedrooms, separate finances, shared expenses split equally. You live in the blue house. Diego lives next door, in a studio connected by a bridge. Two buildings, one relationship. The bridge is the architectural thesis of your entire marriage, connected but separate, load-bearing but narrow, crossable in both directions, but never wide enough for two people to walk side by side. You go to the United States 3 times. San Francisco 1930, New York 1931, Detroit 1932. Each time, you go as Diego's wife. Each time, you return as something else. In San Francisco, the Americans look at you as an accessory. Rivera's colorful Mexican wife. They admire your outfit, the Tehuana dress, the rebozos, the jade necklaces, the braided hair with flowers woven in, the way they admire the decor at a Mexican restaurant. Charming, exotic, not to be taken seriously. They don't understand what they're looking at. The Tehuana outfit is from the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, a region in Oaxaca, where the Zapotec women run the markets, control the money, and make the economic decisions. It's a matriarchal tradition in a patriarchal country. When you wear it, you're not performing Mexicanness for American tourists. You're making a political argument. An argument about indigenous female power in a country that erased its indigenous population and called it progress. Every ribbon in your hair is a thesis statement. Every embroidered flower is a citation, but the Americans see a costume, and you let them, because being underestimated is a form of camouflage, and you've been wearing camouflage since the long skirts hid your damaged leg. In Detroit 1932, the Henry Ford Hospital happens. You're pregnant. The doctors in Mexico told you the pregnancy was impossible. Your pelvis can't support it. Your uterine wall is scarred. The structural damage from the handrail is permanent. You try anyway. On July 4, 1932, American Independence Day, because irony never takes a holiday, you miscarry at the Henry Ford Hospital. The painting. You lie naked on a hospital bed, bleeding, tiny against the white sheet, connected by 6 red ribbons, veins, umbilical cords, threads. It doesn't matter. They're connections to 6 floating objects: a fetus, a snail, an orchid, a pelvic bone model, a steel autoclave, an anatomical torso showing the female reproductive system. Behind you, the Detroit skyline, smokestacks, factories, Ford's River Rouge assembly plant, the largest industrial complex on Earth. You lost a baby in a city that manufactures cars. The painting says, "This is what a factory looks like. I am raw material." The product was rejected. The assembly line doesn't stop. The New York art world notices you during a 1938 exhibition at the Julien Levy Gallery. André Breton, the Pope of Surrealism, a Frenchman who has declared himself the arbiter of what qualifies as the subconscious made visible, writes the catalog essay. He calls your work surrealist. He says you create from the dream world. He compares you to a ribbon around a bomb. You respond, "They thought I was a surrealist, but I wasn't. I never painted dreams. I painted my own reality." This distinction matters more than any art critic will acknowledge for the next 50 years. The surrealists painted the irrational, melting clocks, impossible staircases, lobster telephones. You paint the hyper-rational. Every element in your paintings has a specific, traceable, medical or biographical source. The nails in the broken column are the pain in your spine, each one positioned over a documented nerve compression point. The split torso is the corset cut open. The crumbling column replacing the spine is a literal representation of spinal degeneration. This isn't surrealism. This is radiology performed with oil paint. But surrealist sells better than disabled woman painting her medical records, so the label sticks. The market needs a category. You refuse the category. The market uses it anyway, because the market doesn't need your permission. The market needs your product, and your product, your pain, translated into pigment, is extraordinarily sellable once they put the right label on the frame. Let's count. Between 1925 and 1954, you undergo approximately 35 surgical procedures. Some sources say 30, some say more than 35. The exact number is uncertain because you stop counting and your doctors stop agreeing. Here's a partial list. Multiple spinal operations to address vertebral deterioration and nerve compression. Bone grafts, some using material from your own body, some from donor bone, at least one using a metal rod that becomes infected and has to be removed. Foot surgeries. The crushed right foot requires repeated reconstruction, and by the 1950s, gangrene will set in, necessitating the amputation of your right leg below the knee in August 1953. Corrective procedures for the pelvis. Procedures for the collarbone. Therapeutic abortions. Pregnancies that your body initiates and cannot sustain. Ended surgically because miscarriage at your level of structural damage is life-threatening. You paint from the bed. You paint from the wheelchair. You paint in corsets that restrict your breathing. The plaster ones are the worst. They crack against your ribs. They trap heat. Your skin erupts in rashes beneath them. You paint on bad days and on worse days. There are no good days. There are days where the morphine works, and days where it doesn't, and the distinction between those two categories is the entire emotional range available to you. The Broken Column, 1944, the painting that contains your complete structural report. Your torso is split open along the midline, held apart by two flaps of skin, revealing a crumbling ionic column where your spine should be. The column is fractured in multiple places. The breaks correspond to your actual vertebral fractures. Nails are driven into your skin, your face, your neck, your arms, your torso. You cry, 2 single tears on each cheek, but your expression is controlled, steady. The gaze is direct. You are not asking for pity. You are submitting evidence. The white cloth around your hips is the surgical corset. The barren landscape behind you is cracked earth, the same color as your skin, the same fracture pattern as the column. You are the landscape. The landscape is you. There's no separation between the body and the terrain, because damage doesn't stay inside the skin. It radiates outward. It contaminates everything. Without hope. 1945. You lie in your bed. The same bed. Always the same bed. The one with the mirror your mother mounted 19 years ago. And from your mouth pours a cascade of meat, organs, fish, a skull, a chicken carcass, a sausage. The frame shows a volcanic landscape, dead and barren. On the back of the canvas you wrote, "Not the least hope remains to me. Everything moves in time with what the belly contains." The doctors have put you on a forced feeding regimen. Your weight has dropped dangerously. Your body is rejecting food. They funnel nutrients into you like fuel into a machine that doesn't want to run. The painting is a portrait of being kept alive against your will. The body doesn't want the input. The system administers it anyway. The Wounded Deer, 1946. You paint yourself as a young stag, your face on a deer's body, pierced by 9 arrows, running through a forest with broken branches on the ground. The deer is bleeding from every wound, but still standing, still running. The expression on your face, your human face on the deer's body, is calm, not peaceful, resigned. The animal knows it's dying. It runs because running is what the body does when the mind has already accepted the outcome. Each painting is a status update from a system that's deteriorating in real time. You're not creating art, you're filing incident reports. The medium is oil on masonite. The subject is organ failure. The audience is anyone willing to look at a woman's body as a document instead of a decoration. Here's the part that would make you furious. By the 1990s, 40 years after your death, Fridamania arrives. Your face is on t-shirts, tote bags, coffee mugs, refrigerator magnets, throw pillows, shot glasses, enamel pins, and temporary tattoos sold at Urban Outfitters for $8.99. The flower crown is a brand identifier more recognizable than the Nike swoosh in certain demographics. Your image is licensed by the Frida Kahlo Corporation. Yes, a corporation bearing your name. Your communist, anti-capitalist, burn the bourgeoisie name, which controls the commercial rights to your likeness and has licensed it to, among others, a tequila brand, a cosmetics line, and a collection of Barbie dolls. A Barbie doll. Frida Kahlo Barbie. Released by Mattel in 2018. Slim waist, no visible corset, no leg brace, no surgical scars, no unibrow. They smoothed it. They took the one feature you cultivated as an act of defiance against European beauty standards and sanded it into 2 separate, neatly groomed eyebrows. Your great-niece Mara de Andoromeo sued Mattel. She said the family never authorized the likeness. The corporation that licenses your name said they did. The lawsuit continues. Your body, which was a battlefield for 29 years, is now a legal dispute between a toy company and your descendants. The auction prices tell the rest of the story. In 2006, Roots sells for $5.6 million. In 2016, Two Nudes in the Forest sells for $8 million. In 2021, Diego Yo, a self-portrait with Diego's face painted on your forehead like a thought you can't remove, sells for $34.9 million at Sotheby's. It's the highest price ever paid for a Latin American artwork. For context, Diego Rivera's auction record is $9.76 million. You are now worth 3.5 times your husband on the open market. The Elephant and the Dove, repriced. But here's the accounting that nobody performs. Between 1926 and 1954, you produced 143 paintings. You sold a handful during your lifetime. Your prices were modest, a few $100s per canvas, sometimes bartered for medical bills or household expenses. Your total lifetime earnings from art would not cover the cost of a single one of your surgeries in today's dollars. You lived off Diego's income, off teaching positions at the School of Painting and Sculpture, La Esmeralda, where your students came to the Blue House because you were too sick to commute, and off the intermittent kindness of patrons who sometimes bought a painting, the way one leaves a tip at a restaurant. A small gesture towards someone who provided more than the bill reflects. The current combined market value of your 143 paintings, if every surviving work were sold at auction today, would conservatively exceed $500 million. $500 million. Produced by a woman who couldn't afford consistent medical care and whose most expensive material was the morphine she injected to make the painting hand stop shaking. That's the market correction, not the art, the price. The market looked at 29 years of documented agony, spinal fractures, miscarriages, amputations, corsets, surgeries, infidelity, betrayal, addiction, and a death that may or may not have been voluntary, and assigned it a dollar value. And the dollar value increases annually. Your suffering appreciates, your pain compounds interest. The worse the biography gets, the higher the price tag climbs, because the market has discovered that empathy is a luxury good, and your life is the most efficient empathy generation system in the history of art. You painted your pain because there was nothing else in the room. They framed it, lit it, hung it on a white wall, and charged admission. April 13, 1953. The Galeria Arte Contemporáneo in Mexico City, your first solo exhibition in your own country. You are 46 years old. You've been painting for 27 years. You've exhibited in New York, Paris, San Francisco, and Mexico. Your Mexico, the country whose soil you carry in your paintings like sediment, has never given you a solo show. The gallery owner, Lola Alvarez Bravo, a photographer, a friend, a woman who understands that this show might be the last, organizes the event. Your doctors say you cannot attend. Your spine is disintegrating. Your right leg is gangrenous. The amputation is 4 months away. You can't stand. You can barely sit. Attending is medically inadvisable. Attending might kill you. You tell Lola to move your 4-poster bed to the gallery. They do. They dismantle the bed from 1925. The one with the mirror, the one where your mother gave you paint and said look at yourself, and they reassemble it in the center of the gallery. They dress it with your embroidered sheets, your Judas figures, your photographs, your skeleton figurines from Day of the Dead. The bed becomes an installation, the most honest art installation in the history of Mexican galleries, the actual site of production transported to the site of exhibition, with the producer still inside it. You arrive in an ambulance. They carry you on a stretcher through the gallery entrance, past the crowd, 600 people, standing room only, spilling into the street, and they place you in your bed, in the center of the room, surrounded by your paintings on the walls. You, in the bed, are the final self-portrait, the 56th, the only one that breathes. You drink, you sing corridos, you receive guests lying down, politicians, artists, students, journalists, Diego, everyone. You laugh, you are by every witness account, incandescent, radiant, the most alive person in the room. The most alive person in a room who is also the most dying person in the room, which is a contradiction only if you don't understand that Frida Kahlo has been living and dying simultaneously since September 17, 1925, and the only difference tonight is that both processes are visible to an audience. Carlos Palazer, the poet, cries, Diego cries, Diego cries. Juan O'Gorman, the architect, stands in the corner and doesn't speak. Lola Alvarez Bravo takes photographs. The crowd presses against the bed. You hold hands with strangers. You sign autographs from the pillow. The show is a triumph. The reviews say so. The crowd says so. The tears say so. 4 months later, they amputate your right leg below the knee. Your diary entry after the surgery. Feet, what do I need them for if I have wings to fly? 1 sentence, 2 clauses. The first is despair. The second is defiance. The space between them is the entire territory of your life. July 13, 1954. La Casa Azul. The Blue House. The same house where you were born 47 years ago. The same room, the same bed, the same mirror on the canopy that has reflected your face through 55 self-portraits, 35 surgeries, 28 corsets, 3 miscarriages, 2 marriages to the same man, 1 amputation, and approximately 10,585 days of uninterrupted pain. Official cause of death, pulmonary embolism. Suspected cause, morphine overdose. Intentional or accidental is debated by biographers who never wore a plaster corset in July in Mexico City and therefore lack the credentials to speculate. Your last diary entry, I hope the exit is joyful, and I hope never to return, Frida. Your last painting, Viva la Vida, watermelons, just watermelons, split open, red, ripe, dripping with juice, no body, no corset, no broken column, no nails, no blood, no deer, no floating fetuses, just fruit, just color, just the words Viva la Vida, long live life, carved into the flesh of the largest melon in letters, so deliberate they look like they were written by someone who knew exactly how much time was left and chose to spend it on the simplest possible statement, long live life, written by a woman who had every reason to disagree. Here's the final diagnostic. You were born with a body. The body was damaged. The damage was not your fault. A bus, a streetcar, a 20-centavo fare, a Tuesday. From that damage, you built a body of work that is now worth more than the GDP of some small nations. You translated nerve pain into pigment. You converted miscarriage into composition. You took the steel handrail that destroyed your pelvis and your future and your ability to hold a child, and you turned it into 143 paintings that hold the entire world's attention 70 years after your death. And the world, the market, the galleries, the t-shirt printers, the Barbie manufacturers, the auction houses, looked at all of this and said, "We'll take it. We'll take the pain. We'll take the blood. We'll take the broken column and the wounded deer and the two Fridas and the bed in the gallery. We'll take everything you made from everything that was taken from you, and we'll sell it, at markup, with tasteful lighting." But here's the thing, the market can never calculate, the variable that no auction house can appraise, the one number that breaks every spreadsheet. You didn't paint because the world was watching. You painted because you couldn't move. The mirror was there because your mother put it there. The paints were there because your father lent them. The bed was there because the bus was there, because the streetcar was there, because the 20 centavos were in your pocket, because you were 18 and going home, and the world hadn't told you yet that going home was the last simple thing you would ever do. You are Frida Kahlo. You are in chronic pain, and they call it art, but you called it Tuesday. You called it Wednesday. You called it the morning light on the ceiling of a room you never chose, reflected in a mirror you didn't ask for, painted with hands that shook from medication onto a canvas clamped to a bed that was a hospital and a studio and a prison and a gallery, and finally the place where you stopped. The exit was the one thing they couldn't frame. If you're still here, you already know that the most expensive art in the world was made by someone who couldn't afford to stand up. Subscribe before the algorithm decides your attention span belongs to someone selling watermelons at markup.